How to Train Your Family, or The Composer's Guide to Home Harmony. Do you feel that you're struggling against your family sometimes when you're composing at home? And I think inevitably we all have to compose probably within the home environment, whether that means we have like a little dedicated office, a home studio somewhere outside separate from the house. Mine is in the sort of front room, so right in the middle of the house, which comes with pros and cons. But by and large, most of us compose within some sort of family or live together environment, unless we live alone, which in many ways might be the ideal sometimes for getting some peace and quiet to compose. Okay, so how can you make this work living with other people? Well, I think number one, and the first thing, I'm just reading from my notes on my laptop here. First thing is to get the people on board that you live with your career choice. They need to understand what you're trying to do, whether you're doing it full-time, whether you're doing it part-time, whether you're trying to just start doing it. I think it's really, really important in those early days to be really clear with the people that you share your life with about what you're trying to do, why you're trying to do it, and what this is going to mean in terms of time and routine. So from my point of view, I'm a production music composer, and it meant talking about not earning money for a couple of, well, 2 to 3 years in my case, it being a slow sort of burn of building clients and building momentum, of writing music pretty much on a constant basis and sending it off and waiting for things to happen before I could actually earn any money doing this, of needing a quiet space, of needing protected time, of needing not to be interrupted, essentially, so that one's creative flow, the creative flow sounds awfully, I'm such a creative composer. My creative composing flow cannot be interrupted, but there is a certain element of that. I think you sort of get in your mind, you get in a bit of a flow, and if you get interrupted, then you go back 5 or 10 minutes sometimes, and it takes a while to get back into that. So I think this is really, really important. And bearing in mind that for me at least, the compositional process is intense. It's it's an all or nothing. I'm composing and not really doing anything else. I think it's probably a more intense intellectual activity than a lot of jobs, some jobs, I don't know, than some other jobs where it's possible to multitask or chat with your colleagues at the same time, or work a bit, break a bit, work a bit, and it's a lot more fluid. The composing is pretty intense and pretty focused, and it needs to be like that, certainly from the way I work. Okay, so getting people on board is your first port of call, explaining what you're trying to do, why you need the space, and how they can actually help you with that. The second thing is respecting time, is about time, putting boundaries around all of this lot. And most of those boundaries, in my case, have been around time, mainly about time, and noise to a certain extent, but about time. And I think even with the most supportive, most wonderful partner, which I have and has been over the last few years, and the most amazing family, you totally get what I'm doing, there is still this issue about boundary around time, in that if I left home at 8:30 in the morning and I drove to work and then I came back at 5:30, I would not be expected to do a number of the things that I do during the day, just because my place of work happens to be at home. Now, I don't resent that, but if anything comes up, well, it's Andrew that has the flexibility. I have the flexibility to go and do the shopping, put the washing out, see to the washing machine repairman when he comes, walk the dog, all of those sort of things. I have the flexibility to do that. And there is an expectation, I think, that because I work from home and I have a flexible working, which I can work whenever I want, or not at all if I don't want to, that I can drop everything and I can do this. And that is an absolute crunch point, I think, because from my point of view, and I think probably for most professional composers' point of view, you need to have structure, you need to put time around your work. I work with a timer, in fact. I work in 50-minute segments or 90-minute segments. I plan out my day, not to the minute, but in segments of work. And I have to do that. And in a way, that's sort of anti the flexibility of work. Of course, I could do those whenever I want to, and I could do whatever I like. But for my brain to actually get me work, I'm an all or nothing worker. I either don't work at all or I work at 100%. I'm not great in the middle in a number of things in my life. For me, I have to have that almost rigid framework that I impose on myself to actually create, and I have to have that boundary and that wall. And then if that is broken, it gets really, really annoying, and that needs explaining to your family members and your people that you live with and people who might interrupt you, I think. So putting time, I think it's really, getting time regular, if you can do, really, really helps, so that people know that you start, in my case, 8:30 in the morning, that door closes and I'm in here and I'm working, and I'm likely to not want to be interrupted until lunchtime. Again, in the afternoon, after lunch, the door's shut, and then actually, that is the time. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be 2 hours in an evening between 7 and 9. It can be between 7 and 8 in the morning if you've got something else you need to do during the day. But knowing that everybody knows that that is your work time is really, really important. Signaling that to family members is important too. For me, my door here goes straight out, it goes to the central hallway of the house to the front door. Everybody walks past my door all the time. If the door is shut, then I'm signaling actually that I don't want to be interrupted. If the door is open and I'm working, that's fine. But signaling things like that, I think, is really, really important. Even putting a sign outside the door or something, it's not necessary for me, but having that physical barrier in between yourself and the work of a door being closed or a curtain being drawn or something just signals that you are not to be disturbed if at all possible. So what do you think it is reasonable then to be disturbed with? Well, I always think, well, if I was working in an office or I was working in a school or something like that, what would it be reasonable to interrupt me to do? Well, if one of the children are ill, of course. If somebody has an emergency, of course. If something really unexpected or terrible needs seeing to, of course. I would be expected to be interrupted at that point, which is why I do work with my phone on my desk. I don't have notifications on it, but I think it's useful to have the phone there so people can contact you in an emergency if need be. So my family knows that they would need to phone me, possibly text me. I might get a text or a WhatsApp, but less likely they would need to phone me if they really, really needed me. But that seems realistic. That's what you would expect if I'd gone off to work in the car, for example, to a totally different working environment. You also need to work out then, apart from are you available or not, and what are you available? Are you available for emergencies, and what sort of emergencies? Is it reasonable that you're available to put the washing out because you're the person that just happens to be here? Is it reasonable that you are expected to wait in for a delivery? Oh, Andrew works from home, he can get the delivery. Can I? But it might come at a really inconvenient time for me, For me, it's a pain because we have a very barky dog. The dog barks, I have to stop doing everything, manage the dog, get the door, open the door. It's a 5-minute interruption. Is that reasonable? I don't know. I don't know whether that's reasonable for you. Talk to you, but talk to your housemates about it. And also, if you are living with children, I think this is a real thing. Can you train your children so that when they come in through the front door, which is the other side of the wall that you're looking through at the moment, they walk in the front door, which is next to my office door here. Is it possible for them to come in the house without then barging in and wanting to say hello and all of that? And do you want that? Is that the case? These are young children. I have young grandchildren that live with me. So do you want them to come in or not? Do you want to train them that actually you will come out to them when it's time? All of these things you need to really, really think about, because sometimes you'll want to see them and it'll be fine and you'll come in and you'll be welcome in. Other times they'll think, oh, granddad or dad or whoever always wants to see me when I come in. They'll come in, but it won't be a good time and you won't respond in the same way. You need to have a clear boundary and a clear habit, and then everybody sort of knows where they stand. Noise. I make a lot of noise? Maybe not that much, no more than having the TV on, I suppose. Is it annoying? Boy, yes, it must be, because often I, repeat things round and round and round, and, I repeat bits of music so many times, perfecting little odds and ends, or listening through to a piece to get the flow and all of that sort of thing. Is that annoying? Boy, that's annoying for anybody that can hear it. So I think one has to bear that in mind, that actually you need to be playing your stuff at a reasonable level or using headphones. Conversely, oh my God, is it annoying when somebody's hoovering outside my door? It's not the actual noise, it's the drone, it's the tone of it. Is it annoying when our next door neighbour starts trimming their grass, or they're mowing their lawn, which is more or less sort of outside my front window here? Yes, because it's not the volume, it's not so I can't hear or concentrate through it, it's the drone, it's the pitch of it I find really distracting. Okay, you can't do anything about your neighbours, but can you talk to other people? Can we have the TV on a bit softer while I'm working, possibly? It can be really distracting if there's music and loud stuff on the television, if you're trying to actually write in the next room, and vice versa as well. How annoying is it if you're trying to watch the TV and you can hear whoever it is playing their latest music at like 95 decibels or something? So there needs to be some give and take and some thinking about noise also. Okay, last thing on this is that probably, in fairly common opinion, I think J.S. Bach, Johann Sebastian Bach, probably one of the, if not the greatest composers, most prolific composers, one of the greatest compositional musical minds ever to walk on this earth, had 21 children or something, and wrote so much music, more than you, me, or anybody is probably going to do in our entire life. What was his home life like? He must have been constantly living with small children and grandchildren in a maelstrom of family chaos, presumably, I don't know, but still managed to produce all of the stuff that he managed to produce without a computer and even without electric lighting. How did he work in the evenings? By candlelight, and I think he messed his eyesight up in the end. But he managed to do it. None of us are anywhere near that mountainous great height of J.S. Bach. But in sort of microcosm, if Johann Sebastian managed to do it, maybe we should try to do it too, and be as tolerant of it as we can be, and just sort of slightly get down off our, well, I need peace, quiet, and boundaries to compose sort of mountain, and just come down just a little bit maybe and meet people halfway. I hope there's one or two little bits of interest there for you. If you've got any other ideas about how to sort of balance this and manage it, I would really, really like to hear in the comments. So please feel free to drop me a line. It would be great to hear from you. Thanks ever so much for watching. Bye-bye.